Welcome back to Classic Game Room, the podcast broadcasting from the year 19XX. What year could it be? There's so many to choose from. Roughly 100. Could be 1913. Welcome to Classic Game Room, the podcast broadcasting from 1913, where we're taking a look at a video game. That's what they call it, from the future. I'm not sure how to describe this to my listening audience over the wireless, but this game, if you can call it that, involves a frog that the quote-unquote player must guide across a street, avoiding vehicles that aren't pulled by horses, and then jumping on logs, or else the frog drowns. But can't frogs swim? The future is dumb. 1913, Mark, is correct. The future is dumb, but for other reasons. Frogger is actually one of the better things that people ever came up with. So I wasn't going to do a podcast this week, ran out of time once again. I haven't played a game in actually a couple weeks. Yes, even though it's called Classic Game Room, I spend most of my time being the least interesting man in the world. So it's like those Dos Equis commercials, except instead of like parasailing and hanging out on a yacht with a bunch of ladies, what I'm actually doing is staring at Excel spreadsheets and writing down synthesizer settings, like with a pencil. Yes, you might think of, me as the guy on screen wearing an Atari hat or a Sega hat, yelling about beer drinking and Vectrex, but there's so many different marks. It's a shame that the boring ones have taken over lately, but you know what all of the clone marks have in common? We're all obsessed with the 1980s. And I got some inspiration this week to talk about something interesting on this podcast. So I've turned it around from the least interesting podcast in the world to the most interesting podcast in the world, because who else can give you a well thought out and accurate top 10 greatest 1980s TV show theme songs? I know, I'm not usually one for ranking things, but there's a dramatic reveal here, and I think once you hear it all together, it'll make sense. And for many of you who might not have grown up in the 1980s, sorry for you, some of these might be brand new. And I'll guide you to some terrific theme songs that are an integral part of incredible television shows. Top 10. You won't believe number 7. Actually, you probably will believe number 7. Anyway, why am I doing this? Well, because I love 80s TV shows and theme songs, like back when they meant something. I know modern television shows all have theme songs still to this day, like streaming TV shows, whatever. They've all got their theme song, but there's a button right there on screen that you can just push and skip it. Back in the 80s, we couldn't do that. We had to watch the entire theme song, which is why my generation has all of these memorized. Every one of them. You'll know all of these songs. Well, probably most of them. There's actually a wild card or two in there. But I got inspired. This past week, I've been doing a lot of soundscaping work, and we've been turning the whole business into something else lately. Again, least interesting thing in the world, but it's actually very cool behind the scenes, though sometimes not super exciting to talk about. I'm working on a lot of soundscapes, and I spent the entire week on a Juno, which is like a classic Roland 80s inspired synth, and you've heard Juno sounds and so many of your favorite 80s pop songs, Aha, Duran Duran, there's so many. Anyway, I have a modern Juno. It's not one of the classic ones, so it'll do all the Junos, Juno 60, 106. It'll even do Jupiter 8 and all that kind of stuff too. It's one of the best pieces of gear that Roland has ever made. And I spent the entire week working on soundscaping, and in the middle of it, I also took some of these sounds I've created or combined or just discovered and mixed or whatever, and turned them into a new Omega Ronin EP, which is all hardware, and it's all 80s inspired. So for just a little bit at least, I took a break from writing about future laser robots in a dystopian apocalypse, and instead wrote some songs about supersonic helicopters and talking cars, and groups of mercenaries that you can hire to solve crimes, if you can find them. So I'm going to kick off this podcast with something that you might enjoy. Before I get to the top 10 list, you won't believe number 3. You'll definitely believe number 3. Number 3 really couldn't possibly be any more predictable. Anyway, before I get to that, here's a brand new song for you from Omega Ronin. This is early release on Bandcamp. You can pick it up right now. Streaming services real soon. This is Night Eagle, spelled correctly with a K-N. Knight Eagle. Enjoy.
In 1976, a crack team of commandos was lost in the jungle. This covert team of special operatives is proficient in ninja arts and helicopter combat. If there is a crime to stop and your checks don't bounce, you can employ Night Eagle.
Night Eagle, 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 Eagle. Your viewing options tonight are the newest Game of Thrones spin-off or hot reality TV show or whatever, or Night Eagle. It's no contest. Night Eagle wins every time. There's been a robbery on the Sunset Strip, and the cops are confused and unable to solve the crime in their 1980s cop cars that crash into things and flip and explode. But if your checks don't bounce, and you can call them using a payphone, then you can employ Night Eagle, who arrives in a talking helicopter. Night Eagle also has a turbo jump button so that it can jump over trains, even though it's a helicopter. It has to jump over trains because it looks cool. Just casually flying over trains is boring. Night Eagle! I have no idea what the inspiration are. Not a clue. See, now I gotta combine Miami Vice and Silk Stockings, like Silk Vice! Except that'll require a saxophone. I can't play saxophone. There's probably a saxophone setting somewhere on this thing.
Stop, and your checks don't bounce. You can employ Night Eagle.
Now that I've planted this seed in your head, you can't unplant it. It's there forever, and you're welcome. Top 10 greatest 1980s television show theme songs. Coming in at number 10. This is going to be very unexpected, but it's one of the most memorable TV show theme songs from the 80s. I'm going to say the name of it, and you're going to immediately start singing this in your head. I can't play it for you because you know how this stuff works. But you ready? Coming from out of nowhere, Gummy Bears. Bouncing here and there and everywhere, high adventure that's beyond compare. They are the Gummy Bears. I had to look those lyrics up because I thought it was wild adventure that's beyond compare. No, it's high adventure, which says a lot about the Gummy Bears. A terrific job rhyming, by the way. Gummy Bears. Don't remember the show that well. I kind of confuse it in my head with DuckTales, which was another good song, but doesn't break the top 10. You know, for a goofy kids cartoon show named after candy, Gummy Bears comes out swinging because they are the Gummy Bears. And they command respect with the 10th best 1980s television show theme song. I didn't say that there weren't cartoons in here. Gummy Bears. Coming in at number 9, also unexpected. You're probably thinking, like, he's going Magnum P.I. Number 9? Seriously? No way. Number 9 belongs to Greatest American Hero. Sing along with me, kids. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could be so free. I love that song, yet I hate it at the same time. I think I heard that when I was a kid, and I could just never erase it. I don't even remember the TV show that well. I just remember that song. And you see, that's important, because part of being, in fact, I would argue that one of the most important parts of being a top 10 1980s television show theme song is that you're super memorable. And there's no way to forget that song. I don't even know who wrote this. Is that Led Zeppelin? Who wrote that? Hang on. Joey Scarberry. Not Led Zeppelin. I knew it wasn't Led Zeppelin. It sounds like a song that was sung by Muppets. Like if John Denver was a Muppet singing that song, I would totally believe it. In fact, I think John Denver is a Muppet. Like the early 80s were kind of weird on the music scene because you had like this transition from disco into like, I don't even know what to call it. Like whatever genre like that Believe It or Not song is. Like just smooth pop or something. Like, but basically right before Duran Duran and all that stuff started coming out in MTV, you had like this little window where it was like John Denver kind of stuff, which I personally can't stand. Which is why I'm kind of surprised that the Believe It or Not song is number 9. But it's just so goddamn memorable. Like you can't, it's like the Gummy Bears song. You can't not sing it once you hear it. Which brings me to number 8 on this countdown. The number 8 best 1980s television show theme song. Transformers, Robots in Disguise. And it's got the 80s guitar lead in the beginning and disco horns. As well as robot voices, it checks all the boxes. All it needs is a helicopter that flies itself. Oh wait, it's got one that also transforms into a tank and a robot. It's not one of the catchiest songs on here, but the lyrics are terrific, and the way that it ties like the imagery from the show together with the music and like just the opening sequence, it's very memorable. What's the theme song for GoBots? You're going to I don't know exactly, because it sucks compared to Transformers. In fact, GoBots sucked compared to Transformers. Though Leader 1 was alright. Maybe he was on loan from the Transformers. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. So you don't have to know anything about Transformers to know what it's about, thanks to the TV show theme song, which literally explains the entire series. These two groups of robots are not friends, because that would be boring. Which brings me to number 7, also animated, also from Hasbro, a show that features some super fine ladies that know how to handle heavy artillery. That's right, Scarlet, Baroness, Covergirl, Lady J. I'm talking about G.I. Joe, a real American hero, and I love the part of the song where it kind of, where the singer, his voice is very deep. G.I. Joe against Cobra the enemy. Fighting to save the day, he never gives up. He's always there, fighting for freedom over land and air. Someone get the station wagon over here ASAP. We're taking a trip to Toys R Us. Brilliant songwriting. Once again, you don't have to know anything about G.I. Joe to know what they fight over, land and air. And they fight for freedom because G.I. Joe is there. Like, it just barely edges out Transformers, though. Like, neither one of them are, like, particularly catchy tunes, but the lyrics and the visuals make them top 10s. So, what are we on now? See, if I was professional, I'd have this written down in front of me, but I'm just making it up as I go along. I mean, it's in my head, but hang on. So, Gummy Bears, Greatest American Hero, Transformers, G.I. Joe. Okay, number 6. This is easy. Speaking of disco, I think this technically might be 79, but what's the best century of all centuries? What century has Wilma Deering? That's right, Buck Rogers in the 25th century, coming in at number 6. Maybe you don't remember it, but look that one up. I love the disco drums in that intro song so much. Like, the disco drums just make it. Is it forever or will it all end? Wilma, shake your hair. She's a Pert Plus kind of girl. Now, there's like 2 or maybe 3 versions of the intro song. So if you're already like using your Sega Dreamcast web browser to search this one on Netscape or whatever, the intro with lyrics that has like Wilma rolling around and like that in like out of focus mist, I think that was for the pilot. Actually, I have that in vinyl. I prefer the short version without the lyrics. Now, the lyrics are awesome, but like for different reasons. They're just so campy they totally fit Buck Rogers. But like the short tight disco intro theme song, is easily one of the top 10 1980s television show theme songs, even though that might have been 70s. But it's close enough. Whatever decade Wilma's in, that's the decade you want to be at. So 1980s it is. I'll even accept Silver Spoons. Actually, that's not true because I don't remember the Silver Spoons theme song at all. Though I do remember number 5. Now I'm going to throw a curveball at you. You ready? It's like if you're sitting there doing the math, writing these down, you're probably thinking, like, I know what the top 5 are. Easy. But you don't. Because I don't believe in math. Also, this song is so good that it has to be in the top 5. One of my favorite TV shows of all times. One of the best 80s cartoons that nobody ever talks about. Who fights for justice in the future as a 4-person team? One of the people has like a robot arm. The other one is Clint Eastwood in space. One's a telepathic girl, and the other guy is a computer whiz. That's right. They also ride robot horses. And there's psycho crystals and slaver lords, and one of the characters is a talking chicken that's a pirate. It can only be Galaxy Rangers. No guts, no glory. Ready to do it again. If you don't know that song, look it up. I'm telling you, one of the best TV show theme songs ever written. Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers. Now, before we break the top 4, this is going to be some tricky math on this one. It just comes from out of nowhere. Hey, you know what time it is?
Checkpoint.
Beer o'clock. This one's for you, Nico. Just when you think you're about to hear Wild Boys, it's not. That's One Way Ticket by Omega Ronin, which I think is also a title of a Miami Vice episode. I don't know. Just a coincidence. Number 4 greatest 1980s television show theme song is a tie. This is how I'm fitting them all in, because I think they're the same song. One features a supersonic helicopter and the other features a talking car. Who defeats Michael Knight versus Jan Michael Vincent? We all win. It can only be Knight Rider or Airwolf. Wait, which one's first? Which sequence pops into your head first? It's really hard to keep these two separate in my head. Try it. Just like the Airwolf intro is and then Knight Rider's it's like the same thing. Until they reach that moment of 80s bliss where they really differentiate themselves. Airwolf is you know that one. It's one of the best intros ever. Knight Rider, which I think has the better underlying sequence, kicks into so I like the sequence, the opening sequence better in Knight Rider, but I like the main driving theme better in Airwolf. But if you combine the two, it's number 4. So now there's only 3 left. Anyone over 40's got the top 3. Easy. Come on, you know this. It's hard to pick a favorite out of these top 3. These are 3 of my favorite shows. 3 of the best theme songs from the 80s. Number 3 is actually what I would consider the best 1980s TV show of all time, but the 3rd best theme, though, we're splitting hairs. They're all so good. What television show features Island Hoppers? A red Ferrari, Robin Masters' estate, Higgins? It can only be Magnum P.I. With the guitar in there, it's so good. Oh, that's just one of the best theme songs of all time. And I love how the Magnum theme kind of changes. It evolves. It's got the opening, then it goes da-da-da-da-da, because Magnum's caring and sensitive as well as violent and destructive, solving crimes by you having a mustache and wearing awesome shirts. Though, like a lot of the other shows from the era, the the first couple episodes don't feature the proper mix of the theme song. It took them a few tries to like get it to where it works. Magnum P.I. Just a brilliant show, and it holds up well today. Like, Airwolf and Knight Rider are still pretty goofy, but, like, Magnum P.I. is legit. Just solid filmmaking and a very well-made show with good actors. Just really like that show a lot. And, of course, a super strong theme song always helps. So, number 2. I actually prefer the Magnum P.I. theme song from a musical standpoint, but number 2 is, I think, the catchiest 1980s TV show theme song of all time. What TV show features a custom van, Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica, and Mr. T? That's right. It's the A-Team. With, like, the most explosive intro ever. That just... It just explodes with everything about the 80s that's better than whatever we're living in today. If you're ever just miserable living in our current horrible future, which makes Blade Runner look like a freaking paradise, just turn on the A-Team theme song and you'll have a better day. I want to watch influencers. I want to watch Mr. T run over bad guys in a custom van. I want to watch Howling Mad Murdoch miss everything he's shooting at. I want to watch Faceman pick up babes in a Corvette. And I love it when a plan comes together, especially while chain-smoking cigars in the 80s. God, I get so amped up. I gotta take it down a notch. Get ready to talk about number 1. The best 1980s TV show theme song of all time is Doogie Howser, MD. No, I'm just kidding. Gotta get everyone chilled out here. Just take it down a notch. This is Shadow in the Dark from Omega Ronin, which I think is also a title of a Miami Vice episode. Hey, speaking of Miami Vice. Am I the only one that thinks of the girls coming out of the apartment as like the opening shot? I mean, there were there's like waves and stuff too. Anyway, it's the Miami Vice theme song. From Jan Hammer, with rip-roaring guitars and synthesizers and the drums. Oh my god. That song is not just like one of the best 80s TV show theme songs, it's just one of the best 80s songs, period. But you need the proper mix. Like Magnum P.I., the first couple Miami Vice episodes didn't have the right mix. Because like Jan goes off on some weird tangent in the longer version, but like the short version is where it's at. The Miami Vice theme song. I'm banging things. I'm so excited. The Miami Vice theme song is the best 1980s TV show theme song of all time. A song that immediately transports you to 1980s Miami, pink t-shirts, white loafers, pet alligators, and Ferraris paid for by the taxpayers. It's got a direct connection to Blade Runner, Heat, and Don Johnson plays Lieutenant Falcon in the G.I. Joe movie. Miami Vice wins 1980s TV show theme songs. This has been a lot of fun. What can we rank next week? Like, where do we go from here? Like 1980s soft drinks, cartoon girls that we want to date, like Chitara or Tila, Lisa Hayes or Min May. Like, you got to go Lisa Hayes, just on the standpoint that she didn't seem like an idiot. Like, Min May should have definitely just been ejected into space. Unlike episode 2. I mean, all Rick had to do was hit the damn button. Although Miria, ooh, man, that's a tough one. Like, Miria rolled business class, and like her business was murder.
Checkpoint.
It's the sound effects that make it better. Alright kids, thanks for listening. Don't forget to check out the new Omega Ronin titled Night Eagle. And there's another collection of classic Game Room video game music. I think it's dropping tomorrow. Whenever tomorrow is for you. Titled, it's a good title on this one, Bottom Shelf Behind the Bar Beneath the Ray Gun. So, see you next time. Classic Game Room, the podcast, Spotify, other places. Thanks for listening.
Night.